For these other area and perimeter questions, basically you're going to have what's called a composite shape. So a shape that is made of several other shapes kind of put together. The other big kind of shape that we talked a lot about area and perimeter for is for rectangles. For a rectangle perimeter, all you're going to want to do is once again add all the sides. And that works really well with these composite shapes. You just add all of the outside of the shape together. If you're talking about the area of a basic rectangle, then that is just going to be the length times the width. And we'll see a little bit more about that here. So for perimeter of this first one, this cross-looking one, basically I'm just going to add 8.6, 4.9, 4.9, 1.1, 4.9, 11.7, 8.6, 11.7, 4.9, 1.1, 4.9, and 4.9 together. And that is pretty much how I got our answer. Let me pull that off of the Ooh, sorry, dropped my pen. Let me pull that off of the answer key for us here. I'm not going to write it all out. You know what I'm talking about. Just adding all of those sides together. So we get a perimeter of 72.2 feet. Don't forget your units. Now, the area is probably the part that's slightly trickier, but not as tricky as you might think. So basically what we're going to do is we're just going to break this cross into smaller pieces that we know what to do with. So I'm actually going to break this into 3 rectangles right here. So I have this big rectangle and then 2 of these smaller ones. So let's call this rectangle 1, rectangle 2, and rectangle 3. Now we're going to find the area of these 3 sections separately, and then we're going to add them together. So the area of rectangle 1, so basically we know how long our width is right here. Our width is 8.6. We just need to figure out how long our length is. So basically we're going to have to add this section right here, 4.9, plus this section right here. We know that this section is going to be 1.1 because this section is also 1.1. So we can say that this bit right here is 1.1, and then this section right here is just 11.7. Okay, so 11.7 plus 1.1 plus 4.9, we'll add those up. Let me get my calculator again. 11.7 plus 1.1 plus 4.9 is 17.7. Okay, so that is our length of this entire section is 17.7. So basically our width, let's see, that is our length. Okay. We're going to do our length times width. So we're going to do 17.7 times our width of 8.6. So 17.7 times 8.6 is going to be 152.22. And then this is feet squared. All right, so that takes care of rectangle number 1, which is all that space in here. Let's go ahead and talk about rectangle number 2. So for rectangle number 2, our smaller rectangle here, our width is 1.1, and our length is actually just 4.9. Nothing fancy to calculate for that one. So we're going to do 1.1 times 4.9. Let's see, 1.1 times 4.9 is 5.39. So this section right here is 5.39. Something interesting to notice is that rectangle 3 is actually the same size rectangle. It's going to be 4.9 times 1.1. So we don't even need to calculate that out. So that's just also 5.39. Okay, so our entire rectangle, we're we're going to add those three together. So 152.22 plus 5.39 plus 5.39, 152. I add all of those together, I get 163, and don't forget this is feet squared. All right, and this other one is going to go pretty much the same way. So for the perimeter, we're going to add up all these sides: 12.4, 10.4, 10.4, 14.5, 33.2, 10.4, 12.4, 24.9, 22.8, and 10.4. When I add all of those up together, I get 161.8, and don't forget this is in inches. The question now is, how are we going to break this into smaller rectangles so that we can find the area? I'm going to go ahead and break it like this. I'm going to make that one long rectangle in the middle again, and then these two smaller rectangles kind of off to the side here. Okay, let's start. Let's call this one rectangle 1. The big one will be rectangle 2, and our smaller one will be rectangle 3 again. Okay, so rectangle 1, we have a width right here. This section is 10.4 inches long. We also actually know our length. That is 12.4 inches long. So rectangle 1, pretty simple, 10.4 times 12.4. Okay, 10.4 times 12.4. 4 times 12.4 is 128.96, and that's inches squared. Okay, so that's that smaller, that's this section right here. Let's go ahead and now take a look at the larger rectangle. So we've already got the width, which is nice. This section right here is 14.5, so we can put that down there. Now we just need to figure out the length. So we know this section right here, stopping right here, is 33.2 inches. Now we just need to know how much this section right here is. Well, actually, we already know, since this section down here is 12.4, this is also 12.4. So if we put all of that together, the entire side is going to be 33.2 plus 12.4, not 12.5, 12.4. So 33.2 plus 12.4 is 45.6. So the whole thing is 45.6 inches. So we can multiply that by our width, 45.6. Okay, 14.5 times 45.6 is 661.2 inches squared. And nice enough, rectangle 3 is actually the same size as rectangle 1. So we already know that that is 128.96. So once again, to get the total, we're just going to add the 3 rectangles together. So our entire rectangle is 128.96 plus 661.2 plus 128.96 again. And if we add all of those up, that's where we're going to get 919.12. Don't forget the units. This is inches squared since we're talking about area.